Charlton, and today I'm going to talk about sequencers. Now, I've been building little oscillators and filters and bits and pieces since the 1970s, but back in 1978 I didn't know what a sequencer was. I built one though as part of my engineering degree project, final year project, and I'm going to show you it. Look, it's there, hanging up on the wall. Let's have a lingering close-up. Isn't that beautiful? I know what you're wondering, did it work? You won't believe this, it only ever worked once. It was the morning of my assessment. I'd worked about 3 months on that thing. It had been driving me nuts. And then the professors and lecturers, people who were interviewing me for my degree, said, what's that thing supposed to do? And they said, well, the idea is you play the keyboard and then it records the voltages and then it plays it back like this. And it worked. The one time it worked, even had a little speed switch so I could make it play faster and slow it down. They were so impressed, I got a degree, and that's why I'm allowed to write letters after my name. Oh, thanks to that thing up there. Anyway, after that, I abandoned sequencers. That one's been cannibalised. I've taken bits off it and stuff. And it wasn't until lockdown that I started looking at videos and I realised, hang on, you can actually buy analogue sequencers. I didn't know this until 2020. And so I bought one, then it got a bit daft. But let me show you the one I first bought and what you can do with it. If you don't know about sequencers, hopefully you're going to find this a pile of fun. Here we go. This is a Doepfer Dark Time sequencer, and currently it's connected up to my old Moog Prodigy, and this was built about the same time as I built my old original sequencer back in the 1970s, this machine. But it's amazing, when they built these Prodigies, they thought ahead, how would it work in the future, and it's still gigging away. Of course, while it's busking away, you can play with the tones, make it play around. Anyway, before we get too carried away, let's just show you the sequencer itself and the essential things that it does. One of the best things about the Dark Time is it's got loads of sockets on the back. It's got MIDI sockets, it's got that thing for connecting to a computer if you can be bothered. I can't. And it's got all these though for connecting to your analog gear, inputs and outputs, so it'll talk to anything. Now look, if I just set this thing going, we can't hear anything yet. There's always two main wires to put in. One is the gate output, which is that one there. And that's doing the same job as if you're just pushing the same note on the keyboard, yep. Then the next wire we're going to put in is this one. This takes the control voltage out of here. Now we've got different notes. In a minute we're going to connect this orange wire. It's going to be exciting. But first of all, let's just see where these two wires are going. Here's the back of the Prodigy. It's all a bit messy in here because this normally lives on a shelf. But here's the yellow wire that takes the control voltage from the sequencer to the oscillators in the Prodigy. This black wire is bringing a 5-volt gate pulse. Now that's what most synthesizers want to fire the gate, but the Prodigy is old-fashioned. It's got this funny looking socket here, S-trig in out. In fact, to fire the gate you just short those two across. So what we've got here is a little thing I had to build, made out of terminal blocks, paper clips, and it's a transistor from my old original sequencer. And in fact it converts the 5 volts into a switch to make the Prodigy work. Moving along, we've got a green wire which takes the signal out of the Prodigy down to the mixer, and we've got the orange wire that goes to sync in, which is the best socket on the Prodigy. In fact, it's probably the best socket on any synthesizer ever. Right, at last it's time to get this little machine rocking. The Dark Time's got 16 steps, and the simplest configuration is what I'm doing now. I've just got it doing a little sequence of 16 different notes. These controls affect what note you get. The switches are for stopping and starting, missing notes out, taking little chunks of a sequence. You can do little bits here. So I'm going to go to 4. Look at make them go down, go backwards. What I do use quite a lot for other things is the random feature. See, the lights are just going completely randomly around the place. Going backwards, going forwards. Another feature on here is the pulse width. You can make the gates long or short. That's a short gate. And that's a long gate. For this you have to have the sustain turned up on your keyboard, otherwise it doesn't work. You've got to have the sustain on there. The thing is, we've got 16 notes playing here, but it's not enough to write an opera or a symphony. If you want to do that, use your computer. This is for making an interesting sound. So what's far more fun is don't use all 16 notes. We're just going to use the 8 notes along the top, because the notes along the bottom, the steps along the bottom, we can give them different functions. And one of the best different functions is this one. We can actually get these individual controls to change the note lengths of those ones. When I push go, these are all low, therefore it's all very short notes. You'll see there's 2 sets of red lights to show that both channels are now operating at the same time. Let's make a few longer. That's much nicer, isn't it? Isn't that cool? Here's something else. I'm going to put that to there, so we just get these 4 notes, and I'm going to put this one to there, so it's just doing 3 steps, and then look. It's syncopating. There's 4 notes there, but every 3rd note is a long one. Therefore, you get this kind of weird beat. Another thing you can do is if you hold down the function button and turn that, swings. Oh, come on, is that cool? Yeah, baby. Let that go. You'll now see that this light is not tracking at the same time as that one. It's working independently. You start to get some really good vibes off here. Let's do random note lengths. And of course, if you play a few keys on the keyboard, how cool is that, honestly? Now, you saw where the orange wire was going, the sync input on the Prodigy. If you don't know about sync on the Prodigy, watch and learn. You're going to love this. It's fantastic, but the great thing is we can get the Dark Time to work the sync at the same time as do a few notes, so you get the most wonderful noises off it. Listen to this. Right, we've moved on. The Moog Prodigy is sitting back on her place on the shelf in all its splendour. And down here, that's the Dark Time that was playing the Moog Prodigy. They've got a wonderful relationship, bearing in mind that Moog Prodigy is 40 years older than that Dark Time. And it's just like when they were playing together, it's just like this little machine's gone to a party and asked its granny to have a dance. That's how I feel about it. Now, I've got 2 Dark Times if you look very carefully. When I was on eBay buying that Dark Time, I got a bit confused. I thought I'd lost my bid, put in another bid, and accidentally bought a second Dark Time. Very cross with myself at the time, but actually they work together brilliantly, as you'll see in a minute. And the other thing is, they connect to everything so well. These 2 are the heart of everything that's sitting around in this room. However, there's 1 or 2 things that they can't do, and that's right, other sequencers are available. This is the very excellent Korg SQ1. It's a much cheaper machine than the Dark Time, but don't underestimate it. It's a very, very good buy, is this. In fact, I would recommend this if you're just going to buy one sequencer, yeah? There's two things it does that they don't do. One is, sitting up in the corner, just in the corner there, there is a Korg MS-20. Now, most synthesizers have 1 octave per volt protocol, which means if you put in a voltage, then raise it by 1 volt, the VCO, the sound coming out, will rise by an octave. The MS-20 is a bit strange. It's frequency volts, so it's very different. But this thing has got a setting, because it's a Korg machine, that's a Korg machine, which will drive that and you can play tunes on it. So that's a special thing it does. The one thing it doesn't do, by the way, it doesn't swing. The Dark Times swing. This won't swing, but it has one thing it does that the Dark Times don't do at all, and it's so cool. I've wired the SQ1 into my dark energy here, same two connections, a gate and a voltage wire, and this machine does pretty much the same as the Dark Time. It's got 16 steps, and you can make them fire off in different patterns. There we go. This time it's actually firing 2 channels at once. There's an A channel and a B channel. You can drive 2 separate synthesizers if you want to. But this is what I want to show you. Look what happens when I push these buttons at the bottom. Can you hear that? It's sliding between a couple of the notes. In fact, if you look at the screen, that's the voltages coming off the SQ1, and there's 1 or 2 little slidey bits, diagonals, where it's sliding. If I slow it down and adjust them, you can see we can get different slide speeds. The Dark Time and the SQ1 are analogue sequencers, but a lot of synthesizers these days have a built-in digital sequencer. This lovely Behringer grind has got a sequencer which is based on the Moog Mother 32, and it works in a slightly different way. You push a record button, you play a little tune into it, and then you go into edit mode and make sure you've read the instructions first. But once you've done that, it's got quite a lot more going for it. Have a look at this. So, a digital sequencer like the one built in here, it'll do accents, it'll do ratchets, it'll do glides, it'll do longer patterns, it'll store the patterns. It's got everything. So why do I still prefer the analogue ones? I do love this, it's great, it is brilliant. But the analogue has got something very special about it. With the analogue, everything is on there. With this thing, you put in a few notes, then you have to go into edit mode, you have to do functions and stuff, and basically you have to start with a plan with that one. With this thing, I got it out of the box in 30 seconds. I was playing, just randomly twiddling around and suddenly going, oh, that's nice, that's good. I was coming up with stuff I'd never heard before. If I was planning to put a few notes in, it would all start to sound the same. This completely breaks the barriers. It's far more creative and it's well brilliant fun. Now, another thing I like about this is it's got 2 channels, same as the SQ1 actually. We've already seen how this machine can power the Prodigy and work the sync at the same time, but this machine can actually work 2 separate synthesizers at the same time. Here we go. Another thing I like about analog sequencers is that they will do fractional notes. Digital ones only give you semitones or notes on the exact scale, whereas this you can take off the quantize and do any sort of voltage you want. This is great for really kind of weird and spooky and eerie tunes. Maybe you don't like that, I love it. But sometimes you come across a machine and it isn't exactly 1 volt per octave. In fact, of all the machines there, we know about the Korg, that's an old machine, that's excuse. But would you believe, it's not often I'm rude about Moog, but that's the Moog Voyager. That is not 1 volt per octave. If you're using voltages out of the back of there to go into there, it's 1.03 volts an octave. It's so irritating. Look at this. I've connected the Dark Time to the Voyager using the standard 2 connections. The green one's the gate. The pink one is the control voltage. It's a short wire, it's a thick one. There is no voltage lost down there. Let's get going. Right, this is what 2 octaves should sound like. Now if I increase the voltage out of here by 2 volts, we should get the same 2 octaves, but listen. This is what it should be, and that's what it is. If the protocol for the Voyager had been, say, less than a volt, 0.9 volts per octave, then you could just put an attenuator in between the sequencer and the Voyager, and then you could get it to play in tune without much effort. As it is, if I want to play a little tune on the Voyager using the voltage wires, I have to carefully tune each individual note. It's a bit of a bore, it can be done, but that is why I very, very rarely use the Voyager with this machine. Now, the people that designed the Voyager, to be fair, they probably thought everybody's going to hook up using MIDI. Well, I only use MIDI for one thing with my sequencers, and that's when I get them to talk to each other. Because the MIDI clock that comes out of the Dark Times, it's great. There's so many options. You do have to use the function button for this, but you can make them play at different speeds, and there's various tricks you can do. Here's one I like. Well, this video is going to take hours, so I'm going to stop somewhere. I'm going to stop now. Before I go, I'm going to rig up all the gear and put it all together, and you can see it all dancing away. I love sequencers. I hope you've enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.